Yesterday we were talking about the meaning of Satipatthana as being of exceedingly high quality and of high level practice. But we also said that just Sati alone cannot be effective unless it is accompanied by other supporting mental factors, both at the beginning of the practice and in the course of the practice. Only then this mindfulness will be extraordinarily of high quality and of high level practice. So today we are going to continue on this topic from the theoretical and practical aspects. Whatever undertaking you may take up, whatever task you may take up, either for yourself or for others, one must have faith in the undertaking, understanding the benefit of that task or practice, and one should accept and believe in it. Then only one will have desire to undertake this and make effort or exert energy. Unless one has faith and confidence, one will not be able to have any desire to undertake it. If one has no desire, then one will not make any effort to do it. Or even if one has faith and desire, if they are half-hearted, or you are uncertain about it, you're deluded, you're not sure, you're not decisive, you're not clear-cut, then you will not be able to undertake it. Now you are practicing meditation, which is the practical experience. And in this practice, if you are just wasting time by thinking or reasoning, or taking your thoughts as your real wisdom, esteeming yourself, esteeming your thoughts by taking them as your wisdom, then it will be a waste of time. This we'll have to be very careful. Whatever task we may undertake, such people may be wishing to investigate it, wants to test it. There are things which you cannot decide because some of the things are not within your reach, within the reach of your intellect. Because they are beyond the reach of your intellect, you may not believe it. Then it will not be practical, especially in this practice of meditation. So there are things which are possible, which are possible, but you don't experience it, but you got to accept it with faith and confidence, as has been said in the text. In this connection, we may mention the three kinds of siddhas, classed as accomplishment or success. Three kinds of accomplishment or success. The first one is known as Pacceka Siddha, accomplishing by means of experiential knowledge or by one's own personal experience. That is known as Pacceka Siddha. That is the first one. The second one is known as Anumana Siddha, accomplishment by inference or deduction, or you may say it as deductive knowledge or inferential knowledge, knowing or accepting or accomplishing by means of inference or deduction. That is known as Anumana Sayadaw. The last one, the third one, is Anapana Sayadaw or Sadeya Sayadaw. That is accomplishment by having faith or accomplishing because of the nature of the object as being worthy of faith. So in this way there are these three things called accomplishment or success. Sometimes you know it by yourself, either through your own experience or from books. You accomplish it, you succeeded. And such a kind of success or knowledge is known as Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, because you read the books or you experience the practice by yourself with your own personal experience. Such an accomplishment is known as Paṇḍitā Sayadaw. Suppose it rains. Now you see it raining. That means you are experiencing it. You see it with your own very eyes. Such is Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, your experiential knowledge or accomplishing or knowing through your own personal experience. So you are seeing it with your own eyes. And you cannot deny it. There is no denying about it because it is raining. You are seeing it and you cannot say it is impossible. Now coming back to the practice of meditation, you are watching the abdomen and noting rising and falling respectfully and carefully in the spirit of Satipatthana. And as you are able to deepen your concentration, in this case momentary concentration, you will come to see the intrinsic nature of these objects, namely the natural phenomena of rising and falling, going beyond just the form of the abdomen or the manner of rising and falling. Such an experience is known as Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, your experiential knowledge or accomplishing through your own personal experience. And you cannot deny it because you are experiencing it by yourself. Now, while you are noting rising and falling, every time rising and falling takes place, you are seeing this natural phenomena. And as much as you are observing it at the present time, you can deduce that this would have happened. As much as you observe these sensations when you note rising and falling in the present, you can deduce or infer that this observation could have happened in the past, because you are experiencing it now. You can deduce or infer that it had happened in the past also, and it will happen in future so long as rising and falling takes place and you are observing rising and falling. In this way, although you are not, as much as you are experiencing now, you deduce or infer that these things could have happened in the past and will happen in the future. Such a knowledge or accomplishment is known as Anumana Sayadaw, accomplishing or experiencing or accomplishing or knowing through inference or deduction. And also, as much as it happens in yourself, it will happen in others as well. Such an accomplishment also is known as Anumana Sayadaw. There is no denial about it. And also, you see water coming down from a higher place, you can deduce that it must have been raining in that part of the world, in that region, in a higher place. That's why a lot of water is flowing down. So by seeing the effect of an experience, you understand the cause of that. Here the effect is the water, and the result, and the cause of the rain, and the cause of the rain and effect is the water, or the effect is the water, and the cause is the rain. So by knowing the cause as raining, you know it through inference or deduction, known as Anupana Sayadaw. Another example is, you see smoke coming out from a distance, and you know that there must be fire. Only when fire takes place, there will be smoke. So here also the smoke is the effect, and the fire is the cause. So by seeing the effect, you can deduce the cause of it, namely the existence of fire in that place. In this way, seeing the smoke is Pacceka Sayadaw, experiential knowledge, and deducing that there must be fire at some distance is Anupana Sayadaw, inferential knowledge. In this way, by guessing, by inferring or deducing, you can accomplish this Anupana Sayadaw. And there are other things. The third kind of thing is, there are things that you cannot see or hear or experience as such, and they are beyond the reach of your intellect. Because you have so much little knowledge, you cannot understand certain things. Now you are practicing meditation, you observe the intrinsic nature of the objects by seeing the natural phenomena, and also the conditionality of these objects. So your doubts are cleared as regards the existence of intrinsic nature and the conditionality. And when you are able to cultivate knowledge in an extraordinary manner, you can understand that there are higher knowledges which are beyond the reach of your intellect, such as there is the state called Nibbana, a state of ultimate peace, which is very subtle, and there are other realms other than human realm, such as the realms of celestial beings, immaterial beings, material beings, and so on. So, although you don't see them, but you can understand through faith and confidence, because the Buddha has preached that. By having faith in the Buddha, you can understand, take it as. So, either having accomplished these two things, Pacceka Sayadaw and Anupana Sayadaw, you can come to a conclusion that certain things are possible, like the possibility of the existence of Nibbana, the possibility of the existence of celestial realms, and so on. By having faith in the Buddha, you come to accept it. Such kind of accomplishment is known as Okapana Sayadaw or Satiya Sayadaw, because you believe it and you accomplish by believing it, and also you accomplish by believing in things which are worthy of faith. Because these are beyond the reach of your intellect. You may not you cannot criticize as impossible. You may be doubtful about it, but If you are doubtful about such things, that means things which are worthy of faith, not believing in it, it may be a waste of time. And especially it is very important in the practice of meditation. Especially in the practice of meditation, if one is stretching one's imagination, fantasizing, then it will be a very great hindrance to the gaining of insight. Either you are observing the real intrinsic nature of the objects, either from you observe this intrinsic nature of the objects from literatures or from your own experience. You come to understand that there are these real intrinsic nature. And there are other things you can understand through cause and effect process. Because the cause and effect process, the formations are flowing with cause and effect, by means of cause and effect, like a current. Sometimes you observe the cause. By observing the cause, you can deduce that there must be effect, because you are observing the cause directly. Sometimes you observe the effect directly, and you can deduce there must be relevant cause. So seeing directly the effect is Pissaka Siddha, and inferring or deducing the existence of relevant cause is Anumana Siddha. So, in this way, you can, by seeing directly, you can deduce. But there are things which are beyond the knowledge, beyond the reach of your intellect. For instance, there are many formations which are subject to cause and condition in our body. We know to a certain extent, as much as we know, but there are things that we don't know. We cannot say that they are non-existent, because one is not discovering them, because they are beyond the reach of your intellect. You cannot say that they are impossible. If you go on denying it, if you insist on the non-existence of these conditions, of this cause and effect process, then it will not make any sense at all. In the text is given that if you are subject to skeptical doubt, known as Vicikkecha, you may be trying to reason up with your skeptical doubt about a certain thing, and you think that the skeptical doubt is your wisdom or the power of reason, but you cannot come to any decision. So in this way, you are said to be deceived by your skeptical doubt into thinking that what you are doubting is an act of wisdom or act of reason. You have to be very careful about this. One Western scientist, a very honest scientist, confessed that in the human being, in the face, there are these organs, eyes, ear, nose, mouth, all placed proportionately, systematically. And he confessed that as from the scientific point of view, he could not reason out why they are placed in this way. That is his sincere confession. For him, it is very, he should be praised for that. And of course, Buddhism explains that, but here it is not the time or occasion to do this. What is meant here is that some scientists are very sincere. They would confess their lack of knowledge, but there are others who are not sincere. They will not confess. They are only doubtful, although things are beyond the reach of their intellect, and it is very difficult for such people to be corrected. And there are two things in this faith, in Buddhism. That is, namely, the first one is Dhamma. Dhamma means exact instructions, teachings for one's prosperity. And the second one is the Vinaya, the rule of conduct, so that to conduct one's behaviors to become pure and blameless. That is, laying down the rules of discipline, disciplinary rules. In this way, this is in accordance with this law of cause and effect. If one does this as a cause, one is bound to realize the effect in this way. For instance, if you practice sila, your physical, verbal behaviors will become pure and blameless, so that they become lovable, graceful, and gentle. And if you cultivate the mind, you will purify it, so that you will become peaceful and lovable. And if you cultivate knowledge, practice insight, realize the knowledge, then you will be able to overcome the impurities which have been all along with us throughout our lifetimes, and we'll be able to cultivate knowledge by seeing the true nature of these objects, stages by stages, until we reach the maturity of the practice of insight, so that the mind will become pure. When the mind becomes pure, it will be powerful enough to be able to resist the impurities such as greed, hatred, and delusion. You'll be able to withstand any worldly conditions. Such is the linkage of cause and effect. Because you are doing this, you are realizing the effect, the result of that practice. If you follow the teachings, the exact teachings, the guidance for your prosperity, you are bound to realize, become prosperous. You are bound to realize the benefit of the practice. And as regards the rules, you are following the rules so that you will not be affected. At the same time, others also will not be harmed. For instance, in the traffic, when you are driving in the traffic, you do it according to the traffic rules, such as driving along the right track of the traffic, and following the speed limits, and being cautious when you are turning the bends and so on. So this way, it is good for yourself as well as good for others, so that others are not harmed. In this way, the rules are laid down, and as much as you follow the rules, you are bound to realize the benefit of the practice. And of course, in Buddhism, there is no such thing as punishing you because you are not following the rules. The only thing is you will be realizing the result of your volitions, chirana. In the case of Satipatthana practice also, it is like this. When you are noting every arising object, with the practice of Satipatthana, you are able to realize the benefit beginning with the purity of mind and other benefits as well. And this declaration is made at the beginning of the great discourse on the foundation of mindfulness, in order to encourage the practitioners giving the benefit of the practice for prosperity, for the realization of one's well-being and prosperity. So when one is practicing like this, when one is undertaking this practice to realize the benefit of the Satipatthana practice, you are to follow the rules. That is, yogi rules which are to be followed by the yogis. And the instructions given are with loving kindness, metta, and with compassion. The rules are laid down for you to do or not to do. So Buddha himself has exhorted all beings and to follow these rules and to practice in accordance with the exact instructions or teachings. Otherwise, if the yogis are not able to follow the rules as laid down, then they will not be able to realize the benefit of the practice. They will not gain the purpose of Satipatthana. Buddha himself has already declared at the very beginning of the great discourse on the way of mindfulness, the benefits of the practice of Satipatthana has 7 benefits, beginning with the purity of mind. And this practice of Satipatthana is one sure way of realizing these benefits. And the Buddha has declared in this way. If you don't believe it, just try and practice. But when you practice, you must do it systematically. If you are not doing it systematically, like what is shown is one thing, or what is done is another, then, and also if you are doubtful about it, then it is not possible to realize the benefit of the practice. Buddha himself has said in this way. At one time, one Brahmin hermit, ascetic, came to him, who said, this hermit said, there are many kinds of faith and doctrines, and he did not know which one to believe. He was very doubtful. So at that, the Buddha said that if one is doubtful, then he cannot have such doubtful person. If one is doubtful, or if one is half-hearted, if one's faith and competence, if one is just criticizing, then Buddha cannot help not to mention meditation teachers. So it is very important to accept the declaration as regards the benefits of the practice very seriously, deeply, not just casually. And if you have faith, serious faith, then you will have a strong desire to realize these benefits. Like a person who is really thirsty, he or she will be looking for water, he or she will be craving for water. So also the yogis will crave for the practice if they want to realize the benefit of the practice. They will strive, they will work very hard, and without any regard to their body. They will not be afraid of physical pain. They will not be afraid of even death, especially if they are able to do it every second of the practice, and to note every arising object, sustaining mindfulness, not to allow any impurities to arise in the stream of consciousness. If they are accepting these impurities, and if you delight in these impurities, then you will not have, you are said to have lost faith in the practice. If you have no faith, then there will be no desire to undertake it. Whereas if you have faith, you will have desire, and you will be diligent and vigilant in the practice of mindfulness. So otherwise you may be practicing day after day without any difference, without any progress in the practice, because you are doing it very lightly and you're doing it, you are slacking on the practice with a lax attitude. And that's why there is no difference, even if 1 month is gone. So you have to be very careful about it. So one should ask oneself whether one has real faith in it. And if one has faith, does one have any desire to undertake the practice? Only when one has faith, one will have desire to undertake the practice, then one will do it with vigilance. So one should have this faith and desire leading to energy. If one slacks on the practice with a lax attitude, then there won't be any difference in the practice. There won't be any progress in the practice. So it is very important for the yogis. Then the yogis will become chronic yogis, like chronic patients. Or there will be no remedy to cure this, to treat this chronic patient. So too with the chronic yogis, there will be no remedy for such yogis. It will not be easy to help them. So one should have one's own conscience. According to one's own conscience, one can leave the center if one is not able to do that, do exact practice. If one is doing it with faith and confidence and zeal, one is bound to exert the energy. If so, Sati and Samadhi, mindfulness and concentration will arise as a result of these efforts, and one is bound to cultivate knowledge. Then there will be progress. Then one will take interest in the practice of the Dhamma, because one is discovering the benefits of the practice, and with the cultivation of knowledge, one will have more faith and zeal and more energy to carry on with the practice. And otherwise, if you do that, if you do like this, you will be different. You will feel the difference from your initial stage, because you are progressing. There will be strong zeal to undertake the practice, and you will not wish to lose your mindfulness. You will not wish to allow these impurities to enter your mind, and you will continue to practice continuously so that you will progress, which is very important. Therefore, in the practice of Satipatthana, this faith and desire are very important at the initial stage. Now, during the course of the practice, with the mindfulness, there are other mental powers which will be discussed tomorrow.